Hi, this is Richard Noble from Oregon Legal Center, and I'm making this video this morning to demonstrate to you how you submit information to Oregon Legal Center using the Hot Docs Document Services website. You will get an email from me, and it'll look like this. This is just a sample I've made up to show you what your email would look like. And what you want to do is when you go down to the bottom of the email where it says click here, and you click, and this is going to take you to the Hot Docs Document Services site. And you've already been given a password. This johnselwood1946@gmail.com would be your email address, and the password is already given for you. And what you're going to do now is you're going to sign in and then pick a new password. So here's where you put in your new password. And I'm just going to type Apple Orange. You have to confirm it by typing it again, Apple Orange. You can pick whatever password you want, but you want to write it down at this point. And then you go ahead and hit the change password so it'll have your unique password. Now you see I made a mistake here, so it has to have one uppercase letters, so I'm going to make Apple A capitalized, and I'm going to put a character. I'm going to put Apple Orange 26. So now it's going to load the interview. And here's where you enter information. So if you're just starting out with Oregon Legal Center, you haven't already done estate planning, you're going to just answer the question. You say no. And then you see this opens up here on the side. This is sort of a table of contents to the interview. There's some client information, address information, information about financial advisors, then information about people, and then your assets. So to go to the next screen, you go down here and you click Next. And let's just pretend that we have a married couple here. So you type married couple, and then the screen opens up, and here you would say, you check if not a U.S. citizen. Well, in this case, John and his wife are a U.S. citizen. We're going to say his name is John Charles Selwood, and he doesn't go by Junior. And we're going to use his first name, and we're going to use his middle initial. That's how he wants everything in the documents. So you move over to get a bigger picture. You scroll, put your mouse over to the right and scroll down. Then you put Jane, Susan, and I'm just making this up, John Susan Selwood. And we're going to use her first name and her middle initial. And we need to put her birth date down here, which is 5-1-1950. And we forgot to put his birth date up here. It's really important to look for all the places to fill in. His is 8-1-1945. You could also put a nickname in here if you want to go by a different name. And then you answer this question, do they have children? They do have children. So then you go, you've answered all the questions, so you go to Next, and you put the address down here. And email address. Oregon, lived here for 20 years. He's working. He's a teacher. And then the last four have his social security number, which is necessary for funding purposes. So then there's some questions. Has he ever, and check if they apply. Has he ever filed a gift tax return? No. Has John ever completed previous wills? Yes. Does he want Oregon Legal Center to represent both John and Jane jointly? Yes. Has he ever signed a prenuptial? No, he hasn't. Was he previously married? Yes. Is he required to maintain life insurance? No, so he doesn't answer it. Is he self-employed or owns a business? He is, say, and then it's asked, is he a party to a buy-sell? He is not. Does he receive benefits under a trust, such as a credit shelter trust? No. Does he receive disability benefits? No. So then all those questions are answered for John. Now we're going to go to Jane by hitting next. So Jane, her number, give her cell phone number, say. Do they have an accountant? No. Do they have a financial advisor? Yes. Edward Jones. Okay, so I answered that. Go to the next. Then we talk about children. Now, since he's indicated they have children, they're asked to fill this screen out. And here you would just go through and enter each child. So let's just put the first child down as Sam J. Selwood. And his birth date is 8/12/1980. He's a male. It's both of theirs. That's from this marriage. Is that child married? Yes. Does he have children? Yes. Is the child deceased? No. Is the address different? Yes. And we need the address. If he's different address, put the address in. And the phone number. Okay, now if there's more than one child, you add another one by clicking the Add Another button. And you would just go through the same routine. And see, it puts Sam over here. And if you just keep adding all the children, indicating whether they're from this marriage or not, all the way to the end. Now here, this is a very important part of this interview because we need this information about people. And it's important that we get this information so we can properly prepare your paperwork. So first, you've already entered information about yourself and your spouse, and you've entered information about your children. Now we need to know if there are any other people other than your spouse or your children who are going to act for you. And by that I mean acting under a power of attorney, or as a healthcare representative, or as personal representative under your will, or as trustee under any trust created pursuant to your estate plan, and guardian for any minor children. If a person is going to perform multiple jobs, it's only necessary to enter their information once. So for instance, if you're going to have your brother, who hasn't been named here, John's brother, say John wants his brother to act for him under one of these power of attorney. Maybe he wants him to be a trustee and attorney, in fact, under the power of attorney, and personal representative. Well, he's going to be asked to enter his information here, and he only has to enter it one time, even though he's going to have multiple jobs. Now, in addition, if we want you to enter information here about persons or entities to whom you're leaving any part of your estate. Now, if all the people you've entered so far are the only people that are going to inherit from you, you don't have to enter any more people. But if there are other people, say other than your children, say you want to leave something to a nephew, here's where you would enter his name and his information. If you want to leave something to a charity, here's where you'd enter the information about the charity. If you have, if you want to leave part of your estate to say a spouse of one of your children, here's where you would enter it. Or if you want to leave something to a spouse, if say your son dies and you would want his share to go to his wife, here's where you would enter her name and her information. You don't have to indicate what they're going to get. You don't have to indicate what job they're going to hold, but we need to have their names. And then later I'm going to talk to you either in person or on the telephone and go over all of this and help you make decisions as to how you should divide up your estate or who should act for you. So for instance, say we're going to enter here, say John has a he wants to make his brother William Selwood his successor trustee. So he would enter his name here. He would go, he's a male. His name is, I forget what I said, James Selwood, say. And you want to put the middle initial if that's how you want it in the document. And his birth date, put over here. And he's his brother. And it's Susan's brother-in-law. Is he married? No. Does he have children? No. We need his phone number. We need his address. And we need all this, a zip code, everything. It's very important you fill this in completely. Don't skip. If you don't know the information, you can log off and come back and put it in later. But it's very important that you fill out this form completely so we can do our job for you. And you would just go on to add another person. You would just click Add Another Person here. And the form goes blank again. You just type it all, whatever in. And then when you're done with all these people, and what we would have here would be a list of all of your spouse, your children, and the names of anybody who is going to, this list would contain the list of anybody who's going to act for you under your estate plan. And also would include the names of everybody that you're going to leave any part of your estate to. And when that's done, when you've added all those people, then you hit the next button. And that takes you into a new area of the form, asset information. And this is very important that we have this information about your assets, because estate planning involves the transfer of assets when you die. And we can't really help you to plan this properly unless we know what you own. And the way this works is you get to this screen where you would put information about a particular asset. And you can see the first thing you're asked to do is to click on what kind of an asset it is. And you've got, you know, it basically covers everything. So let's just fill in one or two of these forms to show you how it works. So say you have your home and you want to describe that. So this would be the first asset you're going to talk about. So you click Real Property. Then the question is, who owns it? Now, it's either owned by John as an individual, or Jane as an individual, or John and Jane jointly. Now, if they've never done estate planning, their trust wouldn't own it. But if you have already done estate planning with Oregon Legal Center or some other attorney, it may be that your house is already in a trust, either in your joint trust, or it's owned half by Jane's trust and half by John's trust. But if you're just starting out, it's either going to be John's going to own it, or Jane's going to own it, or more typically for married people, John and Jane are going to own it jointly. So that would be, in this case, John and Jane own their house jointly. So we're going to go click this one. What's the put the fair market value. Doesn't have to be exact, just your best guesstimate. Then we need to know the address. Then the question is there a mortgage? And if there is, the answer is yes, which is often the case, then we need to have you type in the address of the lender. So you should look it up on your statement you pay every month. It's very important that you fill this out, because we're going to write a letter to Wells Fargo, and we need to have their address. So if you don't put on the zip code, we really just can't prepare the letter properly for you. So take the time to look it up. We need to know what type of real estate is here. It's the primary residence, and what's the loan balance? It's $240,000. So now we've filled that all in, and now we're ready to add another asset. And you click the Add Another Asset button. The screen refreshes, and you go through the next one. Now everybody has personal property, so you want to click that one. It's owned by Jane and John jointly. and the value would be that you can just pick any value you want. Say it's $25,000. Then you go add another asset. Now, say you've got an account, a bank or brokerage account, and it's owned by John and Jane jointly. Its current value is $12,000. Now you get down to the bank. Say it's at Wells Fargo, which is you've already typed in Wells Fargo because you had a loan there. So you rather than having to retype Wells Fargo here, you can hit the select button, and you can pick Wells Fargo, and you say select, and it types in the information about the address that you've already typed before. And this is a checking account. The account number, you have to type that in. And are there any pay on death beneficiaries? Often the answer is no. If yes, you'd name them. So you say yes, and the primary beneficiary would be my children, say, or you could name the children. So then you've completed all the information for this asset, which is the bank or brokerage account, a checking account at Wells Fargo. Then you'd add another asset, and you'd go up, the screen refreshes, and say you've got a retirement plan. So you go retirement plan, click that. It's owned by, now this is going to be owned just by John. This is John's IRA. So the current value is $200,000. The plan administrator is Vanguard. Look up the address for Vanguard on the statement. If you just keep hitting the N key, it just goes through all the N's of the states. And this one, what is it? Well, it's an IRA, traditional IRA. You type the account number. And then the primary beneficiary, this would be Jane Selwood. And then the children, say. So you've got, at this point, you could keep adding assets, and you're going to probably have, the things you could have are timeshares, safety deposit box, stock held in certificate form, automobiles, mobile homes, boats, airplanes, non-qualified annuities, stock option, contracts where people owe you money. You're collecting money from people. If you own a business, you don't have to list all the different accounts, bank accounts owned by the business. Just name the business and put its value in here. Insurance policies, sort of just like retirement, you're just going to type in the name of the company, and then savings bonds, same thing. You just list the amount. So that's basically how you go through all the assets. And at this point, you basically completed the form, and you would go next, and you could type in some questions or comments here. Don't understand stock options or something like that. But if you have a question, then we'd know you've got a problem with the form, or I didn't quite understand what I was going to do. Now, at this point, you can say you want to, you're in the middle of all these assets, and you realize you really have to do some more research. You have to you're missing some statements. You can't answer the questions because you don't have a statement. You can stop at this point. You could go and you could just take a break. But when you want to do that, what you want to do before you leave the website, not having completed it, you want to save your answers. So you click the Save Answers button up here, and it says Answers Saved. Now then, you want to log off, and what you want to do is you don't want to just like file exit out of the browser. You want to go up to John, where it says your email address up here, and there's a little triangle on the right hand side, and you click it, and you go Sign Out. So you're going to sign out, and you want to leave this page. It hasn't been submitted. Now, it says you will lose any unsaved changes. Now, remember, you did save your answers, so it's okay. You can leave this page at that point, and you go away. Now, the key is for people, if you want to go back into the website, you can't just, what you have to do is go back to the email that you got from me. Just remember when we started out from the email, and where you clicked click here to answer the interview questions. And you click here, and you again, here's where you type. Not this one. You can't just go sign in, because this just shows the one you were given originally. You have to type in the password that you saved when you set up your unique password, and then you click sign in, and it'll take you back to the interview. So you would just type I typed Orange Apple, and it took me right back to it. That was the one, Orange Apple 26. That's the password I created. Now see, you're right back to where you were, and you could go back to assets, and you could keep adding. You just click on the assets, any one of them, and you just go down to the bottom of the screen and just do add another asset. And you could keep working. Or you could go back and make changes if you had made a mistake, like on the personal information. You can just use this table of contents. If you just take your mouse and click on it, it takes you there, and you could change your answers. And then when you're going to save, when you're all done with this form, you go Save Answers, Answers Saved, and then you click Submit. And at that point, then Are you sure? And you say OK. And then it's being sent to me here at Oregon Legal Center. The interview is complete. So that's how you submit information to Oregon Legal Center using the HotDocs server.